street. She slipped inside through a side door and hid behind some props, trying to stay out of sight. As she waited, she heard footsteps approaching. Two men entered the room, one of them holding a large bag. Clara watched in horror as they opened the bag and pulled out a lifeless body. They were talking about disposing of it without anyone knowing. Clara felt a chill run down her spine.
A lady of all men's dreams, you be the one where they make me the
Hey guys, have you ever wondered what it takes for a young person to chase her dream in a world that seemed to be against him or her? For Clara, a talented young woman who lived in the vibrant city of Umudike in Nigeria, it was like most young people struggling. She had the voice of an angel and dreamt of becoming a famous singer. Despite her talent, she struggled to make a name for herself. Umudike was known for its rich culture and lively festival, but it was also a place where dreams were often crushed by harsh realities. Clara's voice could bring joy to anyone who heard it. She sang at local festivals, church events, and sometimes even at the village square where people would gather to listen. But no matter how beautiful she sang, opportunities never seemed to come her way. One evening, Clara sat in her small apartment watching TV as a multinational company showcased their latest initiative, helping a young blind finger painter. The company's CEO praised the boy's talent, saying, "We believe in empowering those in need." Clara's eyes widened as she thought, why not me? She had a beautiful voice, but no opportunities came her way. She was tired of struggling, working multiple jobs to make ends meet. An idea struck her. What if she pretended to be blind? Would people pity her and give her a chance? Clara hesitated, but desperation won. The next day, Clara donned dark sunglasses and began walking with a cane, pretending to be blind. She went to the same multinational company, hoping to get noticed. As she walked in, people stared, whispered, "Oh, poor girl." Clara's heart ached, but she kept up the act. She approached the receptionist. "Hello, I'm Clara. I'm a singer. I was told this is a place where talented people can get help." The receptionist, moved by Clara's condition, called the CEO. He arrived smiling. "Welcome, young woman. We love to help a talented blind singer like you." Clara's plan worked, but she felt guilty. She was assigned a job as a singer for the company's event, but she knew she had to keep up the act. One day, while performing, Clara saw a familiar face, Mr. Dan, the wealthy man from her village. He looked surprised, but Clara continued singing, hoping he wouldn't expose her. After the performance, Clara was relieved to see it wasn't the man from her village, but Mr. Eva, who approached her, intrigued by her voice. "Good day, miss," he said kindly. "What brings you here?" Clara looked up, pretending not to see him. "Good day, sir. I came here to sing. It brings me peace, but I have no one to guide me. I cannot see." Mr. Eva's eyes widened in surprise. "You are blind? How do you manage?" Clara sighed. "Oh, sir, it's difficult, but I get by. I hope one day someone will hear my voice and help me become a singer." Mr. Eva was moved by her words. He decided to help her, believing in her talent and sincerity. "I will help you, young lady. I will arrange an audition for you in the city. You deserve a chance." Clara was overjoyed, but kept her excitement hidden. "Thank you, sir. You are very kind." Days passed, and Mr. Eva arranged for Clara to travel to the city for an audition. She was nervous but determined to make the most of the opportunity. She knew she had to keep up her act at least for a little while longer. When Clara arrived at the audition venue, she was taken aback by its grandeur. It was a large, elegant theater filled with people from the music industry. She felt a mixture of excitement and fear. Clara was escorted to a waiting room where she met other hopefuls. She noticed a sense of tension in the air. People whispered and glanced around nervously. Clara wondered what was going on but kept to herself. Finally, it was her turn. She was led onto the stage and the bright lights blinded her momentarily, making her act all the more convincing. She took a deep breath and began to sing. Her voice filled the theater, captivating everyone's present. When she finished, there was a moment of stunned silence, followed by thunderous applause. Clara felt a rush of joy and relief. She had done it. As she stepped off the stage, she overheard a conversation between two men. They were discussing something in hushed tones, their voices filled with urgency. "We have to take care of it tonight. No one can know about this," one of them said. Clara's heart raced. She had no idea what they were talking about, but it sounded very serious. She quickly made her way back to the waiting room, her mind spinning with questions. That night, Clara was given a room at a nearby inn. She couldn't sleep, her mind replaying the conversation she had overheard. She decided to investigate. She needed to know what was happening. Clara carefully made her way to the theater, using her cane to navigate the dark streets. She slipped inside through a side door and hid behind some props, trying to stay out of sight. As she waited, she heard footsteps approaching. Two men entered the room, one of them holding a large bag. Clara watched in horror as they opened the bag and pulled out a lifeless body. They were talking about disposing of it without anyone knowing. Clara felt a chill run down her spine. She realized she just witnessed a murder cover-up. She needed to escape and tell someone, but she had to be careful. If they saw her, she could be in great danger. Slowly, Clara backed away, making sure not to make any noise. She managed to slip out of the theater and ran back to the inn. She escaped. Nobody saw her, but she needed to do something. She didn't even know what to say to Mr. Eva since she was supposed to be blind. Her heart pounded as she tried to think of what to do next. The next morning, Clara met with Mr. Eva. She decided to tell him the truth. "Sir, I need to tell you something important. I'm not really blind. I pretended to be to see if you would help me." Mr. Eva looked shocked but listened intently. "Why would you do that, young woman?" Clara explained her reasons and then told him about what she had witnessed the previous night. "We need to go to the authorities," she said urgently. Mr. Eva nodded slowly. "We will, but first we need to make sure you are safe." Clara felt a bit relieved. She trusted Mr. Eva and believed he would help her. He asked her to wait in the office while he made some calls. Clara sat down, trying to calm her nerves. 2 hours earlier, Mr. Eva had met with the men Clara had seen at the theater. They were his business associates involved in some very shady dealings. Mr. Eva was not the kind-hearted man he pretended to be. He was part of the conspiracy Clara had stumbled upon. When Clara confided in him, Mr. Eva saw an opportunity to silence her. He called the men and told them everything Clara had said. They devised a plan to deal with her. Clara sat alone in the room, feeling uneasy. Suddenly, the door burst open and the 2 men from the theater stormed in. Before she could react, they grabbed her, hitting her hard on the head. Everything went black. When Clara woke up, she found herself in a small dark room, her head throbbed, and she struggled to remember what had happened. She realized she had been captured, Panic set in as she tried to figure out where she was. Clara's mind raced. She needed to escape. She looked around the room and noticed it was an old storage container. The walls were metal and there were barely any light. She felt around the floor and found a loose piece of wood. Using the piece of wood, Clara began to dig at the dirt behind the bed. It was slow and exhausting work, but she was determined to find a way out. After what felt like hours, she managed to dig a small hole. Peering through the hole, Clara saw that the container was placed in an isolated area. She could see the faint outline of trees and hear the sound of the forest. She realized she was outside the city, far from help. Clara didn't know what to do. She felt trapped and helpless. She sat back on the bed, trying to think of a plan. She had to stay calm and find a way to escape. As she sat there, she heard voices outside the container. The men were talking about their plans to get rid of her. Clara's heart raced. She knew she didn't have much time. Determined to survive, Clara continued to dig. She managed to widen the hole enough to squeeze through. She crawled out of the container, covered in dirt and bruises. She looked around, trying to get her bearings. Clara realized she was in a secluded area near the forest. She had to find a way to the nearest town and get help. She started walking, keeping to the shadows and staying as quiet as possible. The forest was dark and eerie, and every sound made Clara jump. She moved quickly, her mind focused on escaping. After what felt like hours, she finally saw the light of a small town in the distance. Clara hurried towards the town, her heart pounding with hope. She needed to find someone who could help her. She stumbled into the main street, looking disheveled and frightened. A kind-looking woman noticed Clara and rushed over. "Are you all right, beautiful one? What happened to you?" Clara explained everything in a rush, tears streaming down her face. The woman took Clara to the local police station, where Clara told her story to the authorities. The police launched an investigation and accompanied Clara back to the theater. To Clara's shock, the place had been transformed into a beautiful church. The police searched the area thoroughly, but found nothing. Mr. Eva greeted them with a warm smile, acting surprised and concerned about Clara's accusation. "I was just helping this young woman," Mr. Eva said, his voice full of false sincerity. "She must be confused or mistaken, or probably she is mad." The police began to doubt Clara's story. They whispered among themselves, wondering if they had been led on a wild goose chase. Clara felt panic rising. She knew what she had seen. "Please, you have to believe me," she pleaded. "There was a container. I was kept there. I remember seeing a number on it. It was unique." The police looked skeptical, but one officer, Inspector Okoro, decided to give Clara one last chance. "Show us where you were kept," he said firmly. Mr. Eva tried to intervene. "This is unnecessary. This girl is clearly distressed, mentally deranged, and obviously a liar. When she came here, she told me she was blind, and now she is pulling this." But Inspector Okoro insisted, "If she is lying, it will be very clear very soon." Clara led the police to the area where she had been held. She pointed to a spot on the ground. "It was here. I dug a hole to escape." The police started searching the area again. Mr. Eva's calm demeanor began to crack as they got closer to the truth. He tried to distract them. "This is a waste of time. There is nothing here." Ignoring him, Inspector Okoro called for backup. They brought in equipment to dig and search more thoroughly. Clara watched nervously as they worked. She knew the container had to be there. Suddenly, one of the officers shouted, "Over here! I found something!" Everyone rushed over. The officer had uncovered a buried metal container. It matched Clara's description, complete with the peculiar number she had mentioned. Mr. Evers' face turned pale. "This is a mistake. I don't know anything about this." Ignoring his protest, the police opened the container. Inside, they found incriminating evidence, documents, weapons, and even the lifeless body Clara had seen earlier. Inspector Okoro turned to Clara. "You were telling the truth." Clara nodded, tears of relief streaming down her face. The police arrested Mr. Eva and his associate on the spot. They were charged with murder, kidnapping, and other crimes. The transformation of the theater into a church had been a ruse to cover their track, but Clara's bravery had exposed their deed. As Mr. Eva was led away in handcuffs, he glared at Clara. "You will regret this. I was only trying to help you." Clara stood her ground. "You can't silence the truth, Mr. Eva. Justice will be served." The news of Mr. Eva's arrest spread quickly. The villagers of Umudike were shocked to learn the truth about the man they had once admired. Clara's story became a symbol of courage and resilience. She had risked everything to uncover the truth and bring justice to the victims. Back in Umudike, Clara's story became a legend. She returned to the village where people now saw her as a hero. She no longer needed to pretend to be blind. Her talent and courage had earned her respect and admiration. One evening, Clara was invited to sing at the village's biggest festival. As she stood on the stage, looking out at the crowd, she felt a deep sense of gratitude. She began to sing, her voice carrying across the village square, touching the hearts of everyone present. After her performance, Chief Ugo, the village leader, approached her. "Clara, your journey had been difficult, but you have shown great bravery. We are proud of you." Clara smiled, tears in her eyes. "Thank you, Chief Ugo. I have learned that honesty and courage are more important than anything. I will continue to pursue my dreams, but I will do so with integrity." Chief Ugo nodded. "You have a bright future ahead, Clara. Never forget that." Clara's experience had taught her valuable lessons. She learned that people are not always what they seem. Mr. Eva appeared kind, but was involved in dangerous activity. Her act of pretending to be blind put her in great danger. However, she also discovered her own bravery and resourcefulness. Clara learned that honesty is important and that true help comes from genuine kindness, not from deception. Her experience made her stronger and more determined to pursue her dreams honestly. As Clara walked home that night, she looked up at the starry sky and whispered, "Thank you, God, for guiding me. I will never forget the lessons I've learned." She felt a sense of peace and fulfillment, knowing that she had overcome her challenges and stayed true to herself. Clara's journey was far from over, but she knew she was ready to face whatever came next with courage and integrity. And you story lovers, have you ever wondered what it takes to truly follow your dreams, even when the world seems to be against you? Clara's story shows that with courage, honesty, and perseverance, anything is possible. What dream are you ready to chase with all your heart? Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to share this story with your family and your friends who might need it. Till I see you again in my next story, I still remain Tales by Chika. Goodbye.